you're always challenging a bit these legacy institutions, like, right? Like the conventional way, going to university and all these kind of things. And I'll be wondering what could be the role of places like the Residency in that context, right? I mean, could this be something or an environment that becomes a lot more prevalent in an increasingly AI-driven world?
I really think AI is accelerating and changing basically every playbook in the game. If you're not in extremely restricted fields like medicine or law, I think going to university is maybe not the most future-proven trajectory you can do, or like path you can go downwards.
We host these programs where like people come to the residency, live here for a few months, build their startups, have their ideas, meet their co-founders, build their first products, MVPs, test their hypotheses, meet clients. Ideally, you leave as a founder, as an ambitious founder, the residency with a product, clients, and a big investment to kickstart your further journey.
I already talked about AI earlier. Every week, the new breakthroughs or new things you're hearing, and it's going to affect the way we live, the way we work, the way we connect. I think no one really knows where we're heading. What's your broad thesis on AI?
AI is accelerating extremely fast. We're seeing that in science. We're seeing that now, like AI is basically the best mathematician on the world. AI is now the 6th best programmer in the world in competitive math and competitive programming competitions.
I think there is very, very little things of which I'm convinced that AI will not be able to do them in the where I'm certain that AI is not going to be able to do them within the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that's crazy. That's huge and extremely concerning and cool on the other way, or spectacular on the other way.
Okay. All right. Welcome to Be Well. Today we're joined by Stefan Huber and Konstantin Convalexius. Hope to pronounce that name correctly here. They are co-founders of the Residency in Vienna. The Residency is a concept that's originally from the US, and they are building a new kind of space for ambitious founders and creatives. And they're combining community, co-living, and deep work in one curated environment. Maybe one interesting remark, and I'd be curious to learn a lot more from you guys later. I mean, Sam Altman, for instance, is an advisor and is involved in the Residency concept. So it is quite a big topic, and I feel like here in Europe, it's still a bit under the radar. So I'm excited to have you on the show. And maybe before talking a lot more about the Residency, I'll be curious to learn more about your personal background, about your, let's say, each personal background of you guys. Maybe Stefan, would you like to get started and share a couple of words about your background? And Konstantin, you can take over.
Sure. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Stefan. I'm an AI engineer. I've been working on language models and earlier versions of GPT since 2020. Released my first eVols research paper in 2021. I've been building companies since my undergrad studies. Recently, my main company now is Textures, an AI adoption company that helps the industry, that helps normal companies across Europe, especially in the Netherlands and Austria, to adopt AI. And together with my co-founders, we have founded the Residency in Vienna to have a space for builders, for young entrepreneurs, for tech and health talent to build their startups. And excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Tobi.
Amazing. Konstantin, you want to take over? Share a couple of words?
Yeah, I actually don't know where to start. I think in a brief, I'm actually still a med student primarily. At least this takes most of my time. And on the side, I build ventures. I'm the co-founder with Stefan and Thomas Huber, with the Residency. I did a lot of research during my studies, which also led me to America, to Berkeley, for a longevity research internship. And I'm also very into the hardcore EAC or bioec acceleration of biology research to maybe reach immortality sometimes in our lifetimes, which would be great. And Residency for me is just a very cool vehicle to boost the European ecosystem, startup ecosystem, boost the Viennese ecosystem, and connect it to America, to San Francisco or Boston, or other remote places. There's a couple of residencies in Bangalore or in Melbourne. So we now have an international network, which is now connected in, the Viennese network is now connected to other hubs. And yeah, like I will soon graduate, and then I will even work more on cool projects.
Amazing. That sounds great. I think you would have been also a great fit. I initially focused more on the health longevity side, talked to a lot of people in that space. Seems to be a lot going on here. Maybe before talking about the residency, because I mean, that's the main topic of this podcast. I'm very curious to share also with my audience more what you guys do, who's building there. Stefan, you mentioned that you built texturers. Could you maybe share very briefly in a couple of words what you guys are building? You mentioned it already, and also what led you to build texturers back then, actually. I mean, you guys probably started off in Vienna. What was the founding story like? And I think, Konstantin, you also part of the team in a sense, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Where to start? What is Textures doing? Textures is doing engineering work, building products, a product studio basically, and a consulting firm to help companies to get AI to the real industry. We build products. We build an ERP system, CRM system for smaller companies. We do consulting and transformation projects and custom software engineering for bigger software companies, for the pharma industry, for ministries, for the Dutch Ministry of Health and other like big corporate clients. So mostly we build custom software, we build applications, and we scale them. We also help startups to build their applications and scale startups as vehicles. How did we get to do this? We started in the Netherlands, actually, not in Austria. I mean, the company was always founded in Austria, but most of us studied in the Netherlands, artificial intelligence at Maastricht University. And during my first year of my bachelor's, my flatmate back then and still, and co-founder, Thomas and I, got access to GPT-3 a couple of months before it was publicly released. And we built the first RAG system, did some language model evals, played a bit around with it. And that was super sick. Like that was somewhere late 2020. And it just felt like magic that you could just in human language tell a computer something and it would somehow react to it and do something with it. You could literally say like, do something and it would do something, right? It felt like crazy magic back then. And while at first we did mostly some research and prototyping random side projects, we quickly realized we should do something with it. We should do something bigger. And we should found a company and build something out of it. And back then we didn't really have a startup idea that we were fast enough to scale. So we started as an agency and did some engineering projects for company clients that we met through the university. And from there it evolved more and more into a product studio / consulting agency where we helped large corporations, PE funds to transform their acquired companies with a product we call Chief AI Officer as a service, where we go into companies and help them transform. And then, more and more startups and product requests came to us. And so we started to build startups and help startups scale with building whole software products. And today we are 15 people transforming all sorts of organizations and startups across Austria, Germany, Netherlands, and some other EU countries.
Amazing. Thank you, Stefan. Maybe Konstantin, would you like to just share briefly with us what were your first, let's say, steps into entrepreneurship? When did it start? What were your first entrepreneurial experiences that led you now to the place where you are at now of really being, building and being at the residency?
I actually think it's a very funny story. But I actually thought now what I should tell you. I think the very first memory of mine how I became an entrepreneur was when I was like 10 or something. And I tell you the story, which is maybe not the coolest story, but it's like I was at the Christmas market and I was like, this cute little blonde boy, 10 years old, and like people just found me adorable. And I was literally taking the free Christmas cookies off the tray of like a gala dinner or something, and I sold them for like €2 per cookie, and I earned like €100 that evening as a 10-year-old, and basically just selling stuff that was free before. And like I discovered very very early that you can how you create wealth, or how you create value in that way. Like this was like a child experience, but it was still valuable. And later I was actually founding my first company, which I sold at still actually in end of high school, in the gap year in Austria, because you have mandatory military. and I was founding the company during this military time, and which was like a restaurant reservation app, like Quando nowadays. And I founded the company like at 17, like after the Matura, like basically graduation. And we built it from Linz, and we had like even like investors from Red Bull even. And I exited after like around 8 months because I was then accepted into med school, and I also studied during simultaneously economics at the university, whatever. And I decided to just sell my shares of the company because I wanted to become a doctor, and I didn't want to like spend much more time on like building that startup. But I made a profit, and that basically paid my later the 6 years after that, traveling and spending and eating out with my girlfriend and stuff. So it was a fun experience.
Interesting. Also great to learn more about your personal background, right? I think that's fair to the audience and very interesting to sort of get an impression of what your background is like. Maybe let's start talking about the residency as a whole. I mean, the residency is a concept that has its origins in the US, and maybe for talking more about the residency that you guys are building in Vienna, could you maybe share with us the origin story behind the residency as a whole? I mean, when and why was it actually founded? What is the founding story? Would be interesting to learn more here. You decide, Stefan or Konstantin, who wants to answer.
Okay, Nick's founding story is, I mean, I don't know it in perfect detail, but I think like he was a founder. He was a researcher at IBM in AI. Like he studied basically computer science and then a master's in AI, and he did a lot of research there. He met some other cool co-founders, or like very, very cracked people. Accidentally, like he bumped into one of our friends actually from Vienna, Isaac, who started hacker houses with other friends in Berlin and also in Berkeley. Actually, it's now the Aria House, and they met, and so one of our friends and Nick, and there was some other co-founders involved. Like I don't know the full founder story, but they were like this collective of like basically scattered hacker houses, and the like a lot of very cool stuff came out of there. Like Ed Boyden, one of the best, if not the best, neuroscience professor, was like there all the time because like the students there or like the startups which were founded there was just so cracked. And like Sam Altman also came in. That was before like ChatGPT was as huge as it is now. And he was also like being there a lot in this house in Berkeley. And like after a couple of years, they decided to like push the residency brand even further and become this company where they actually do the cohorts and open new houses. So it developed from a couple of hacker houses into this business.
Interesting. And maybe now you wanted to already answer the other question. What made you guys then become involved in this entire story? Konstantin, you already wanted to allude to it. How did you guys become aware of the residency, and why? And how did it become possible that you would sort of collaborate with them in a sense?
It's like it's just a lot of coincidences and like people that we met. It's like I was in America and I met a lot of people that knew Nick, and I also like met Nick very briefly. And at the same time, Stefan was building this hacker house or like this startup house, let's say, in Vienna with other friends, and we just had this cool place, and we wanted to like basically give through the place we already had, connected to the international ecosystem. And we thought like the best way to do that is to become a residency and to basically attract the brightest people from all over the world to come to Vienna. And then we basically just called Nick and like said, hey, we have a cool place here. You can look at it and like maybe we join. And they thought we were super cool, and we pretty much just joined. I mean that is pretty much we found the story.
Amazing. Stefan,
I
anything
think
to
that's
add
a
here?
very confident version of it, of course. I mean, Nick was initially texting our shared friends, Isaac, that Konstantin was pointing at before. Hey Nick, hey Isaac, are these guys real? And Isaac, good friend of us, responded, yes, yeah, you should meet them. And I mean, I think Nick by then had met Konstantin before. And that was, I don't know, 2 months later or so when I went to California to San Francisco for other reasons. And so Konstantin was like, hey, Stefan, you should meet Nick. And so I met Nick, and Nick was a super, super cool guy, like extremely like visionary and chill and driven and calm and like crazy guy. And so we had a longer chat, and he invited us, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go join us and share our program, and with the hacker house you already have. Yeah, that's what we did. Before that, we were just like a normal, I would say, startup house, doing what we do now, but less organized and less international. And I think what the residency gives us is now we're not a Viennese hacker house with cool startups, but we are a Viennese hacker house that's part of an SF-based group with like direct ties to the Silicon Valley, to international capital, to international founders, and a really, really cool program that we can offer to startups with like switching between the different locations, visiting SF cohorts, participating in their demo day, meeting their investors and their thought capital and their methods. And I think that was a really cool coincidence, as Konstantin called it, that we got in touch with Nick and decided to join.
Amazing. And I think it's also a great transition to the next question, now that we have a sense how all that came about. I'll be wondering, maybe for someone who has never heard of the residency and what you guys do, maybe could you briefly explain to us what the concept is all about, maybe for someone who has never heard of it? And if I'm an ambitious builder, if I was an ambitious builder, how would I experience the residency? I mean, how is the entire experience like? Would be lovely to hear a couple of words about that.
I would say the residency is the place where you start if you're an ambitious builder. We host these programs where like people come to the residency, live here for a few months, build their startups, have their ideas, meet their co-founders, build their first products, MVPs, test their hypotheses, meet clients. And at the end of our cohort, we host an event called the Demo Day, where we invite all the family offices, VCs, angels, investors, etc. And all the startups can pitch. And ideally, you leave as a founder, as an ambitious founder, the residency with a product, clients, and a big investment to kickstart your further journey.
Konstantin, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, I mean, we have like a lot of programming also around it that is specifically built for the residency. We're still trying to like get even more program online, but right now we have like weekly meetings. We have like fireside chats with like founders from Vienna, or like just like important people. We have like larger events that are organized, like symposiums and hackathons. And the crowning event, as Stefan said, is like the demo day, where like our startups are presenting their work, and they can hope for investments from the Viennese, but also from the international ecosystem. So I think that's pretty cool. And what we hope is that that are like the startups that we kind of incubating here, that they go up, like become much stronger in this 3 months, like then they could become somewhere else. That's our goal.
Now, I mean, sounds really interesting. And also, I mean, you guys mentioned would be certainly interesting to learn a lot more how, I mean, you just mentioned your hacker house was already existing before, but sort of the exposure that you guys are getting now with the residency, to what extent your resources have sort of improved even further would be interesting to learn a lot more. But maybe more particular question, I mean, it's still competitive, I mean, to get in there, right? You guys want to make sure that, you know, people get in there who really mean it seriously, I assume. How do you curate who gets in, and what are you looking for in residents? Could you maybe share a couple of words about that entire process that someone needs to go through to potentially be part of your program?
So we have like a lot of applicants. They like, in general, we were pretty impressed because like we have like only 6 spots at the current cohort that are open, and we had around 700 applications in a month briefly.
Wow.
but this is like this all goes through the residency platform. So like in a brief, people apply to the residency global, and they can choose if they want to go, or they can choose the locations they want to go to. So they can select, oh, I want to go to this house in SF, or I want to go to Berlin or Vienna or London, whatever. And from all, like in total, I can say we had around 20K applicants in the whole residency application platform. But I don't know in what time span this was, because like we were onboarded and we pretty much instantly like started onboarding into our cohort as well. But for Vienna, we had around 700 people that were open to all, or specifically selected Vienna as a location where they want to go. And we basically scouted all. Like the people are basically like uploading their CV and credentials and links to LinkedIn or X or like the personal website. And we went through those applicants and selected the 30 best applicants and had conversations with them. And then we selected like the 10 or like 6 best. And those are our residents now.
I actually think it was 700 after pre-filtering, Konstantin. It was a few
700?
thousand applicants that had picked Vienna in total.
Yeah, there's like a pre-filter already implemented. And after that, we had like 700, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Insane. I mean, wasn't aware of that number. It's quite impressive. I mean, let's talk a bit, because at the center of the residency, really, from my view, right, I'm an external person just observing what's happening. The entrepreneur or the young entrepreneur seems to be really at the center of it all. Let's talk a bit more about the aspect of really supporting founders in the best possible way. And I think that's sort of what you guys want to, or the environment you want to create for those young founders. I know that in your content, you can view the residency content on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You're always challenging a bit these legacy institutions, like the conventional way, going to university and all these kind of things. Now, we're living also in an era of AI, right? We're having unprecedented speed of change that we're witnessing, and education is also being disrupted heavily. And I'll be wondering, what could be the role of places like the residency in that context, right? I mean, could this be something or an environment that becomes a lot more prevalent in an increasingly AI-driven world? What's your view on that?
I can take this question, or like a part of this question. I think like Stefan should also answer this question. It's like, okay, a couple of things I want to say. It's like, I really think AI is accelerating and changing basically every playbook in the game. If you're not in extremely like extremely restricted fields like medicine or law, I think going to university is maybe not the most future-proven trajectory you can do, or like path you can go downwards. You just learn much faster on your own if you're motivated. And for example, like, you know, I had some programming in school because I was interested in this, but a part of me, like one reason why I am so much in residency is because like I learned a lot from Stefan, for example. Like I just watch him use the latest AI tools, and like he explains me a lot. And I think like I learn like 10 times faster like the latest AI tools and how to actually implement them. Not as an engineer, but like I could now do some AI engineering as a med student, and I could not have done that if I would not learn from other extremely talented people. And I think like models like this co-living and co-learning are probably the future, because you don't need a degree where you learn like 5 years on some topic, because like in half a year the whole field changes. So you must learn always the state of the art, and being like at the latest at the state of the art basically, while learning from the best people, like in like a co-learning, living in one place kind of manner. So this is what I think places like the residency or like other startup houses really prevail. And yeah, just talking about like AI acceleration is like we see so much acceleration right now. Like we in residency, like every day we speak about the latest developments, and like the whole game changes like every 1 to 2 months, like from scratch basically.
Stefan, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I have to think about your argument or question on the future. I would say the near future and the present, in the near future and the present, it's small high performance teams that really drive change, that really are able to build stuff and make breakthroughs that were previously unthinkable. And I think especially through AI and the speed and the access to information and the access to doing things, the amount of the speed and the amount of stuff that small high performance teams gets done drastically increased. And I think the residency is a place where they can concentrate, where they can meet each other, where they can learn from each other, where investors are attracted to and coming over and want to fund these things. You cannot do things alone, and also small teams cannot, need inspiration from one another. And having a lot of small teams that each work on their own thing in one place, that live and learn from each other, that not just meet in the office and then go home, but that really live together, sleep together, make their routines together, do their sports together, and have a place where they can focused work every day for the whole time they are here is really different, a different thing for startups to get started. And I think it's also, challenging traditional institutions. I personally do think that there is a place for universities in the world, but we're also now in a time where many of the important things that you need for career success, for startup success, for building something are not the things that you learn in the university. And I think the residency is a great place where, most of the important things you learn just by doing them, by trying them out, by experimenting, by building. And I think the residency is a great place and format to do this, to go, to have the support, to have the mindset, to have the other people around you, to have the focus of actually sitting down for like several months and doing nothing else but building and learning and tinkering. And I think this is a very rare experience I'm excited about to offer.
Interesting. Great. Stefan, you were also mentioning the in the near future and the mid future, high performance teams are in particular going to be very, very important in times of AI. So recently, last year I was at the START conference in St. Gallen, typical university institution still, but they have the startup conference, and there was this guy called Michael Baum. I'm not sure if you guys know him, but he's an entrepreneur, built several companies before, and he was describing this venture athlete concept, and he was saying, hey, you guys, if you guys want to build companies, you also need to make sure that you also stay healthy on the journey and that you sort of optimize also for your health and for your performance. And something I always like to bring up is if you look at, for instance, those professional sports teams back in the days, not sure, Bayern Munich, if you look at the support system they had maybe 30 years ago in comparison today, it's quite different, right? A lot of things have happened. I think you just mentioned you guys also work out together in the residency. You're also looking or making sure that people also, let's say, and they're in a good shape to perform as well. What are your thoughts of building sort of environments that also make you healthy and make you have a clear mind to perform at your best? What can we learn maybe from athletes about also building environments for high performing, let's say, builders? What are your thoughts about that?
I think a clear mind and a fit body are really almost a prerequisite, a really strong predictor and support. One of the few things you can do in order, like physical things, in order to perform better on your building and focus trajectory is get good sleep, get good food, get good sports. These are like the basics everyone needs in order to be able to perform well. And yeah, as you say, I think it's extremely crucial. It's extremely part of the culture and the mindset here. We have like daily morning sports where most of the founders participate, where we start just every day with 15, 20 minutes of some exercises, push-ups, being Sally Up song, if you know that. It's a particularly funny one. Always when we have events here in the evening, in the middle of the event, like 60 people around of all age groups, we turn off the music and make everyone quiet and be like, okay, we are a startup house. Part of startup mentality is sports mentality. 3 minutes of sports, everyone doing push-ups or like, how do you say, squats or something. Who doesn't want push-ups, for example? I think this is really important to have as part of the culture in order like to really maintain this ability to think and to concentrate and to sleep. I think it all goes hand in hand.
Konstantin, any thoughts as a, let's say, medical student or an sort of almost a graduate in the field of medicine?
it's like I think what we're doing in the residency right now is like actually, in my opinion, the bare minimum. I mean, it's very good that we're doing these things. What we should do more even is, in my opinion, actually like around 5 hours of like mandatory sport a week, like running and going to the gym. I mean, we're offering that to like basically go in a joint group to like a boxing event or like hit or something. But everyone, literally every person should do around 5 hours of sports a week, like 4 hours of strength training and 1 hour of cardio. And I don't even have to start with sleep. Like, behave as you are the professional sleeper. I'm always saying is like, sleep is my number one priority and it should be yours. If you're not sleeping, you're just not productive. If you're taking in caffeine too late, you cannot sleep. You just don't go into these deep sleep stages. And even if you're sleeping like for 8 hours, your brain doesn't get rested. And there's a lot of supplements you can take to like increase your performance during the day, increase your sleep performance at night, staying sharper, being more fit. There's a lot of like very cool therapies coming online in the next years. Not just increasing like health or like cognitive function or like physical function, but also like extending lifespan, hopefully in the near future. And yeah, I'm very excited for this. And if you also like see to the Silicon Valley, if you look for Silicon Valley, like people are all more enhanced. Like everyone is taking something or doing something, and it starts with like sports, sleeping, and eating, right?
Amazing. Not sure. I think when I went through your content, I saw someone speaking about the amount of distractions that you guys are reducing in those residency formats. I mean, I think they were comparing it to regular distractions that you just have in your day to day, right? May it be that you need to, I don't know, make your laundry or anything, and those get you out of your flow moments. Is that something that you guys are really doing in the residency? Is that something that you could expect if you are a part of it? Did you try to reduce those distractions? Is it really part of the reality there?
I mean, right now we're doing those things, but like if we are actually charging, I think, a very low fee at the current time. Like, I'm not talking about the current fee, but I can say like we are around 3 times cheaper than the houses in San Francisco. And we're doing this because this is our first batch. We wanted to try like how things go. And I don't think that like doing the laundry or cooking is like a big problem right now. But if we would automate that or like get people that would do that work, we would need to charge more. And we're thinking about like ways or like balancing like the time that goes for these tasks for like exchange of like money to like buy or like basically outsource those tasks.
Yeah, I mean, like some SF houses do have a chef, and then at the Bangalore house as well. And I think that's something super sick. I want to have a chef, like, you know, having one chef for the house that every day cooks like freshly prepared things, ideally from some organic farm or something around. That would be an absolute dream. Right now, that's not what's happening. Right now, we do have streamlined these processes and tasks. Many people somehow cook together. We have a lot of these like pre-cooked healthy meal, healthy frozen meal, like Prepma meal, and Lion Share, Löwenanteil, I think in German, that we use. I would say we have like a fairly well streamlined and healthy nutrition setup, but we are not yet there that we have our own chef. But it's a high priority on the task list.
Okay, fair enough.
Just for the audience, it's like if we had a chef, which we could do, like we did not scout like every supplier yet, but it would cost for each person probably around 500 to 700 euros more. So
Wow.
You have to like take that in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like it's the costs. Is it worth it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but interesting. I mean, Bayern Munich also has a chef, and the economics of professional soccer players just, it makes it, possible. But maybe there's a way that one day you guys will also have a chef. Who knows? Because the economics just makes sense.
I don't think this one day is so far away. Like, this is totally realistic to have in the next few months, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be a full-time chef. You can have you can have a chef that comes for let's say 20 hours a week or something, that's easily sufficient for the whole house. And if we split those costs, plus of course like the food and the organization stuff, like there's some overhead and some ingredients that the chef has to buy, obviously. But we would have the infrastructure, and I would not bet against that we have a chef for the next or second to next batch. I'm actually very bullish on the chef topic. But of course, as Konstantin says, it's a financial topic. Like, do we want to?
Yeah.
We want the cost to be as little as possible in the barrier for the people to come, because we want to have the coolest people around and the most cracked and interesting founders. And on the one hand, we don't really want to take equity from them, because that excites the most cracked and most ambitious of the founders less. And of course, we want them. On the other hand, we also don't want to be too expensive, because especially the younger or less well-off founders would have troubles there. We do sponsor some participants, but of course our budgets there are not infinite. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance between whom do we want to cater to, and that might change in the next few months. And then we definitely have a chef.
Interesting. So the chef topic is really resonating here. Interesting. Just a quick question, because you were just saying you guys don't want to take equity. What's the model like? I mean, you guys are not an accelerator, right? You're not taking equity. You're not investors in a sense, or are you? Could you maybe just very briefly share with us what's the agreement here? Do founders then pay
Not
rent, or what's sort of the model?
I can go into this.
Exactly.
Right now we are taking in rent. It's like right now we are actually basically acting as a nonprofit, I would say. Like, we take in money and we're spending all that money on the rent that we actually pay ourselves, and program. So like no one earns anything. Like we really do this because we're like ideologically driven to like enhance the ecosystem, and basically we also want to interact and co-live with cool people. In the future, like the renting model is very attractive, because it's probably the least like entry barrier thing. Like, people just pay basically the rent and that's it, and they get like the correct ecosystem. They get access to investors. They get really cool programming and stuff. But in the future, we're thinking also in offering like a model where we actually take equity, but we actually even care more. Like, we would have people that would do this full time, then connecting them to investors, or like basically helping them to grow. And if we like basically employ a person, then we need to like basically have some more money around that. We're also like thinking about business models where we actually raise funds from investors, from Viennese investors or like European investors, to actually sponsor us, and then they can invest in the companies, or they just want to sponsor us just for the sake, maybe ideologically. So like, we are exploring all the directions, and we will see where we go.
Interesting. Great. Stefan, anything to add or on this one?
I'm excited about the idea of raising a fund and actually investing in the startups and making this like more of an accelerator than an educational institution would be a really cool idea, and we're looking to work towards this. Maybe towards the audience, if you own a big company or work in the sponsoring department, we're also for sponsoring and for support for the participants and for investors, of course.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you get sort of access to very talented people, so that must be interesting, or could be interesting. Just very quickly now, I mean, we're living in an age of AI. We already talked about AI earlier. Every week, the new breakthroughs or new things you're hearing. I mean, you guys are probably a lot more looped in than I am, but I'm already noticing it. And it's going to affect the way we live, the way we work, the way we connect. I think no one really knows where we're heading. What's your broad thesis on AI? Let's say in the next 5 years, 10 years, what are your big bets more broadly?
I think like Stefan and me, we have similar but not like the same predictions. And I think like looking into the future, like I can just predict like the next 3 months. Like, everything after 3 months is just completely like guessing. But I can share you my world model, which is basically AI is accelerating extremely fast. We're seeing that in science. We're seeing that now, like, AI is basically the best mathematician on the world. AI is now the 6th best programmer in the world in competitive math and competitive programming competitions. So it's basically like, you can, in theory, you can build every algorithm and like every tool basically by AI, which will then like accelerate research in AI even more. So like everything is accelerating due to AI, and AI is even accelerating due to AI. So we're living truly in exponential. At least this is my worldview, is that this will, starting this year, I mean, it already started, but really starting this year where people feel it, affect the job market, where I would confidently say like people that are starting university right now, in like very automatable fields like accounting or stuff, I don't think that they will find a job as it currently is, like as the current accounting job exists right now. I think in like even like a year, 2 years, this job will not exist in that form.
Stefan, do you have anything to add? I mean, I have an accounting background, not good chances for me. That's why I'm looking for other careers, being a podcast host. How are you looking into the future? What are your big bets?
That there's a bad time coming for you. So
Yeah, it's really bad. Thanks God, I don't want to be an accountant, so it's just, but it
good for
happened.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I
No.
think the TLDR is,
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. It's really hard to predict for anything for longer periods of time. I'm very like bearish on the kind of people that say AI cannot do X or AI cannot do Y because it's just something, next token prediction, just a model, just statistics. I think there is very, very little things of which I'm convinced that AI will not be able to do them in the like where I'm certain that AI is not going to be able to do them within the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that's crazy. That's huge and extremely concerning, and then cool on the other way, or spectacular on the other way, on the other side. Yeah, I'm not making any long-term predictions. I just don't know, and I think it's completely unreasonable to claim to know.
Now we're optimists, and I'll be wondering, I mean, you guys are hanging out with a lot of people in your residence, and also you guys have exposure to people in SF through the residency, among other things, and probably you guys have a good look on what people are building on, right? What are residents of the residency building? What are they building on? What are they exploring? What is very exciting from your view? Maybe anything that you could share, some anecdotes that seem quite exciting for you guys.
I think a few of the residents are actually going for entire industries, and I think that's extremely exciting, right? There is the industry of software security testing things, and there's a lot of companies that do nothing else than, or I mean nothing else. They do a lot of things. That's a very hard task, of course, to do security testing, pen testing, reports, analysis, monitoring, and these kinds of things. And I see a lot of really, like, it used to be in the past that startups tackled a really niche problem and niche solution and tried to be as narrow as possible to grow in that. And I think that completely changed. We now have startups that really, they don't want to be niche. They want to like build one product that takes over an entire industry or two in one go. And the fact that this became plausible and possible and things that also investors believe in, I think is extremely exciting. And we have one resident or one resident startup, let's say, that goes for fully AI driven security monitoring, pen testing, etc. And is being super, super successful with that. We have one resident startup that goes for automating the entire customs declaration industry, like the whole industry that makes customs declarations. Like when you import or export something, that you have to report it to the government, do security checks, take over liability, and pay the customs. They do this. And all those startups that really, they are not niche anymore, right? That's crazy to me. Startups take an entire industry with like just 2-3 people, starting it from scratch in very few months. That's exciting.
Maybe I talk about one more startup, because this is also like, Tobi, your niche, your like an interest is like, there's one startup that tries to build like an AI therapist. Basically like they start now with a very niche. You always start with niche. binge eating disorder and they want to like build an AI therapist for like curing that, or like helping therapists basically have an AI assistant therapist with the patient or with the client all the time. But they will for sure expand to basically all mental issues or mental diseases. And if they're successful, which we think we are, because else they wouldn't be like resident startups, they could automate or like basically automate the whole therapist industry. So that's also pretty cool.
Amazing. Great. Guys, I think we're coming to an end. We're a bit time restricted here, but it was really fascinating, interesting to talk to you guys. And very, very, I still remain optimistic overall. Maybe to come to an end here, it would be lovely. I mean, one thing that I'm a big believer in is this entire topic of mentorship and coaching. And I mean, at the end of the day, environments, right? You guys also coach each other when you have the right people in your residence. You guys push each other, you guys support each other. And now you were just mentioning that you guys have tons of programs, exposure or access maybe to incredible people who are helping you guys and who have great experiences. And I'll be wondering, what was maybe a panel, a coach, a mentor, some piece of wisdom that has sort of shaped each of you guys? And is there anything else you would like to share with the audience? Konstantin, you can start off if you want to. Or Stefan, whoever has the first answer, who feels comfortable.
Now is the time to build. Whatever you're doing, drop it and start building. I think that's my number one advice.
Amazing. All right, guys, amazing having you guys here on this podcast. And hope to have the chance to come to Vienna soon. And I'm wishing you all the best on that journey. I'll keep following what you guys are doing there.
Please come visit. Thanks for inviting.
Thanks. Okay.